Hello and welcome to episode 7 of A Cuppa with Climb. If you're tuning in for the first time, every month I sit down with vendor and industry experts to discuss top trends and game-changing solutions. This month I am thrilled to announce our guest, Anton Bollen, the European Customer and Marketing Strategist at TechSmith, who will be discussing the future of remote communications. Thanks for joining me today, Anton.
The pleasure is all mine. Thanks for having me.
TechSmith is known for their screen capturing and recording tools, Snagit and Camtasia, which make easy work of sharing ideas, creating engaging presentations, and improving communication. In today's episode, we will be covering the following. Will remote working continue after the lifting of government restrictions? How to improve your customers' remote communications? How to make the most of TechSmith's solution in her hybrid environment? And finally, how to combat those feelings of isolation when working from home. Anton, could you tell us a little bit about your role and your areas of expertise?
Well, absolutely. So I've been working for TechSmith for over 18 years in a variety of different roles and departments. And initially, I focused on the creation of training videos and the supporting materials in a variety of languages. But the evolution of my role has led me to now work much more closely with our clients all over Europe, as well as supporting the general go-to-market tactics that TechSmith is using.
Thanks for that. In the last 18 months, companies have had to revolutionize their workforce. Now, many of those companies are opting to maintain a hybrid workforce even after government restrictions are lifted. The question is, after working at home for over a year, are people desperate to get back in the office or dreading changing out of their loungewear?
Right, so loungewear, that's pretty funny because it's that stereotype we all have about people working remotely, right? And I must say, it works for some, but not for all. So I've actually been working remotely for close to 11 years now, and I quickly realized for myself that the way I dress is directly impacting my ability to focus and be productive. And if I need to have a good day, I need to dress the part. But that said, that's just me, and I've definitely seen a lot of great things being accomplished by people in loungewear. So, yeah, let me get back to your actual question, though. Are people actually eager to get back into the office, or are they really dreading it? And I think the answer really varies from person to person, from their job to job, and maybe even from day to day. And the individual reasons for why people may want or not want to return to the office, they are equally valid, but they do vary, right? So some people don't want to go back for either health concern reasons, or they want to reduce the daily commute, or because they have to take care of their partner at home or their kids, or maybe they're just more productive, like myself, in a remote work environment. But on the other hand, there are some people that are desperately looking to get back into the office, right? They miss that human exchange. Maybe they're not being productive at home at all. They're missing, maybe the workplace helps them maintain a better work-life balance. And those people are equally important as those that prefer to stay home. And so I think the challenge that companies and a lot of us have nowadays is really finding that balance, right? Like, how do we adapt our workplace and the way we work going forward in such a way that it meets the needs, but I would almost say the expectation of employees now as well as going forward. Nevertheless, while also, of course, remaining productive. That's also important for the companies.
Yeah, absolutely. So what exactly would this look like? And to add to that, now that we are, fingers crossed, looking to a future post-COVID and government restrictions, do you think remote working will continue to be the popular option, or do you think we will reverse to a culture of going back into the office?
Well, I think it will be a mixture. And the good news is that we are keeping some of everything that we've accomplished, right? Many companies have already announced that they are going to offer hybrid or even completely remote work options to at least some of their staff beyond the pandemic, right? So SAP is one of the examples that has announced such a move, as has Deutsche Telekom and Bosch. And I know there are many, many other companies that are following the same steps, or at the very least are strongly considering it. And on the one hand, it's motivated, of course, by the company's desire and need to address the needs of their employees and the desires of the employees and how they want to be working. But there's another really important reason to consider here. And that is, employees don't necessarily actually have to go back to their job, right? That is the big change I think we've seen across the industry, because the pandemic has forced so many companies essentially overnight into embracing digitalization and digital solutions in a remote work environment after years of avoiding it or even making excuses, right? But now that this first initial step has been done, it only really makes sense for companies to continue on this path and to continue to refine the way they collaborate, the way they work, the way they handle meetings, which tools they use, and so on.
Yeah, well, speaking of these tools, improving remote communication with more visual and engaging content is something that TechSmith specialize in. So how can companies best utilize Snagit and Camtasia for their benefit?
Well, sure, yeah. So TechSmith products allow essentially anyone at a company record whatever is on their computer screen as an image or video in order to share their ideas, give informal feedback, provide training, create engaging training and presentation content, and just generally to communicate more visually. And all of that opens new and important ways of interacting and collaborating within a company, but also with partners and clients, etc. And I think the value of that visual communication starts to really come through in remote, hybrid, and global work environments where you have teams that are separated, who are not in the same place at the same time. So our products fit quite well in order to create this kind of content. Snagit is used primarily for more informal videos and screen captures and images, while Snagit really allows you to create a more professional and branded video output. But maybe it's best if I show you some examples, if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. At Climb, we are huge fans of Snagit, and I don't think we'd actually make it through a day without using it to make a point, highlight an issue, or better communicate our thoughts to our colleagues. But we're definitely not making the most of its fantastic features. I'd love to see more examples of how companies like ours and in other industries and sectors are really making the most of TechSmith solutions and seeing great results.
Perfect. Yeah, let me start with an example that actually mimics what you just said, right? Being able to give some quick feedback or instructions to someone. And I'm actually going to try to do this live right now. So you should see my screen, and I'm bringing up a generic dashboard, and dashboard like most companies have. And let's assume the situation that my colleague needs to know how to use this dashboard to generate a user report. Me, the expert, of course, I know how to do it, and I'm going to use Snagit to create a quick instructional piece. All right, so first up, I'm going to bring up Snagit up here at the top of the edge, as well as its capture interface. Now I can use the standard all-in-one setting that's already enabled, and all I have to do is click on the big red button. So you can see it's quite simple. I get these little crosshairs, and now I can use them to select the area of my screen I want to capture and essentially show to my colleague. All right, so now I get the choice between video and image, and let me choose image. Let's keep it simple, and snap. The screenshot should open in the editor. Oh, yep, there it is. And now I can use those built-in tools to add a few annotations and instructions to really get my point across. All right, so there are some arrows that I like to use, and what I really like is actually up here, the numbering tool that you can use for indicating the step order, just to make sure the instructions are nice and clear. And that's essentially it. Screenshot, couple clicks, couple edits, and you're done. And now I can take this image and send it to my colleague or my client, and they should have no problem performing this particular task. All right. So that's just one of the simple examples, but I use it probably 50 times a day. Let me go to another area where visuals can really help improve your remote communication at your company. And that is the idea of using videos instead of meetings, because we all have too many meetings and we all know that they are often not very efficient. So the next time you need to start a big project or have a big share out to do, instead of calling a meeting, create a video. Record yourself talking through your main points. You can use some PowerPoint or other visuals on your screen to support it. You can bring up your dashboards or whatever it is that you need to show, but record what you need to show that you normally would have shared during a meeting with the rest of your team, and then send out the video to all that need to receive it. And so here's an example that our VP of Marketing has done, Sherry Powers. She, in order to announce the next period's goals, she does a lot of these videos. So here, take a look.
Welcome to episode 2 of your 2021 Department Goal Setting series of videos. In this episode, I'll cover this year's...
All right, I'm going to mute this right now. I think you get the idea. The video includes all the relevant information to the team, but it's also quite efficient if you think about it, right? For her to share this out, it's really engaging, and I love that she has the image of herself or the video of herself in the corner. It's just a really personal way, and none of us forget what Sherry looks like, and it comes close to actually being in a meeting. And overall, it's this format, these videos are just simply great because they're not a meeting, but we get the right information and we can watch it whenever we need to, in whatever time zone we are in, and we can re-watch it in case we missed some information or need to rehearse it. And so, yeah, with that, we've started really this culture of doing quite a bit of this internally at TechSmith, using these videos instead of meetings or as a kickoff instead of a meeting. And we found that a 15-minute recording can actually oftentimes replace an hour-long meeting. And yeah, who wouldn't love that? So I have one more example I would love to show you. And again, this is a bit more personal, but I just want to make, eat the dog food, right? We live this stuff. We do this stuff internally with ourselves as well. But of course, we tell and we encourage everybody else to practice that as well, these kind of visual communication practices. And the third example is with Ryan.
Hi, Anton. I am writing up your abstract or the summary.
Right? He's my coworker and we quite often collaborate on projects together. But the problem is that Ryan is located in the United States and I am in Berlin, Germany. There's a time difference and it's just really hard to align our calendars. So we've gotten into the habit of using Snagit to simply recording ourselves with the webcam, talking to the camera and essentially using it to create little video messages that we send, simply talking through our ideas, a bit of a brain dump, but we send these videos back and forth all the time and the other person can watch them whenever they come into the office or whenever they have time. And it has allowed us to communicate in a very personal but also really efficient way. And that would be my third example.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks so much for taking us through those examples. I really like the ideas of all of those, especially the last one. I think our designer in particular would love it if we actually sent through verbal communication of our ideas instead of just screenshots of doodles and everything else that's been happening in our brains. So
just record your screen and talk through your thoughts and it'll be 2 or 3 minutes long, but it's going to be so informative and so helpful for your designer because they can really see and hear what you're thinking. And that is really the true value of visual communication.
Your thank you card will be in the mail. So yeah, we're definitely going to be looking at using Snagit and Camtasia later and trying to implement that more in our internal communication. I feel like these examples would also really help with that sense of isolation that people have been suffering with over the last 18 months, especially because they've been working from home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree, right? Isolation is real. We've all been sitting in our own four walls for the last 16 or 18 months. And it's easy to lose that human connection to your coworkers. And so these videos like the one with Sherry, our VP of marketing, or Ryan, my coworker, are a great way to still add a human touch and a personal note and even the personal feeling to the content and your communication. And I therefore think it's also really important for companies to give everyone access to such tools that allow them to create these simple, informal yet personal messages with a couple of clicks in order to maintain that human touch and in many ways enable much better and personal communication.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for those tips. And finally, I think we probably know the answer to this one, but will you be staying remote or are you going to be looking to go back into the office full or part-time?
Well, it's funny you should ask. So I'm definitely going to stay remote because I'm based in Germany, but TechSmith has announced to its employees that they will be offering hybrid and remote options to those employees that want it. So again, they're one of the many companies that have chosen to embrace the remote and hybrid work style and really catering to the needs and preferences of their own employees. And that is something I can simply recommend to any other company out there.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're in the same boat at Climb. We're all kind of been given the option, and it's really
nice. A global thing. Everyone is doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have the option for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We have managed to cover the following: will remote working continue after lifting the government restrictions? How to improve your customers' remote communications? How to make the most of TechSmith solutions in a hybrid work environment? And finally, how to combat feelings of isolation when working from home. Essentially, it is clear that we need to evolve the way we work to be compatible with the demands of the 21st century and our future generations. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Anton. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, the pleasure was all mine. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for tuning in to episode 7 of A Cuppa with Climb. To find out more about TechSmith solutions, get in touch with our specialist business development manager, Rod McVie, or check out the TechSmith Vendor Hub on our brand new website. All contact details and website links will be listed at the end of this video and in the video description box below. Until next time, bye!
Bye.